Welcome to another edition of TalkBackFans. I'm Pat Lynden,
Terry Howell.
and we are joined by the Overtime Sports Group.
Reggie Flowers.
That's all right. You go ahead, Reg.
Reggie Flowers. Joe Herriott.
Who are two of the six members of the Overtime Sports Group. The other members are Micah Holmes, Tyshawn Gooseby, and as I like to call them, the Change Brothers, Derek Nichols and DeAndre Penny, who are your two most recent additions. Five of the six are Benedictine graduates.
And Miles Campbell.
Okay, I was not aware of Miles, so Miles
Campbell.
is number 7.
Yes. Miles Campbell is our financial advisor. He's another recent addition.
We need to talk to him.
Definitely.
So, guys, step us through how this all started. You guys, a little background, you guys are working with professional athletes, providing them some representation, providing them some brand management, a few other things. But take us to the beginning. How did this all start?
Okay, I'll start it off. So pretty much like our sophomore year, me, Joe, and Micah sat down and we were just trying to figure out like what is going to be our way. Like we felt like sports weren't like our way to make our money in the next chapter of our lives, which is college. So we wanted to find something that we all wanted to do. So we always thought about being sports agents and creating our own sports agency. We knew some guys at Benedictine who are great talents, and just with them, talking to them and just being around them, it just gave us some motivation to just go out and create our own thing.
Oh, yeah. Basically, what Reggie Flowers said was accurate. We just planned we wanted to start our own agency, so we was trying to figure out at that point like which ways we could go about taking actions into our own hands, just to get a little bit of experience before really having to deal with professional athletes. So that's how Overtime Sports Group came along. It was 3 passionate guys. We all was very passionate about sports, but also we were business savvy too. So we just looked up, different ways that we could make money from or make a career out of the sports side, the business side of sports. So.
And as, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, how hard was it to convince people that you guys had some business savvy and some experience?
I would say it wasn't that hard because we had some mentors, so to help us create our own, name. We did a bunch of things before Overtime even came up. We had a clothing line. Me and Joe had a clothing line. We did a sneaker convention when we were like 16, 17. So we were always like around business people trying to find a way. Overtime wasn't our first like thought. We thought we was gonna do a clothing line. We thought we was gonna start selling sneakers and stuff like that, but that just wasn't us. And we just figured out like, okay, this is really what we want to do. So we had a couple mentors to help us, get our feet wet, start recruiting, helping in that aspect of the business world. So the hard part is trying to convince parents and athletes that these 20, 21, 22-year-olds are okay with handling, $1 million at a time. So that's our issue for real.
And then too, we also it wasn't really a problem with like the players really taking us serious because we started off with guys that we were already friends with, so it was genuine, before it even started. But when it came down to the parents and really speaking to people that's what we wanted to do, that's when we were starting to get a little bit of okay, how you gonna go about that. And that's how Overtime Sports Group Free Youth Camp started, because we wanted to show people that we could put together a professional setting event that's super successful from our own strength. Even though we are young, we knew that we was going to put the work in behind it and do the research that we needed. So we just figured this was the best way to go about it. We didn't know too much at the time, but we figured this is better than nothing. So that's how the Overtime Sports Group camp came along.
Without getting into the nuts and bolts of what it is that you you talk to the parents about. What is your pitch? What are you trying to accomplish for not only yourselves but for the athletes that you guys are going to represent?
We want to bring our athletes into a family atmosphere where they don't have to like be uptight with us. They don't have to like hold their tongue and say what they want from us because we work for the athlete. Like they tell us what to do. So we just want to build their best interest off the field for every off the field activity they want to do, whatever they want to invest their money in, whatever they want to, support in their foundations and stuff. So that is pretty much what we sell to our players: genuine friendship, genuine our 100% effort to make you as much money off the field. So you don't need your football career when you have other opportunities. You invest in stuff. We build your businesses. We give you great public relations work, marketing opportunities. So that's pretty much what we pitch to our guys when we have our sit down meetings.
And then too, we also like Reggie said, it's more about it being a family. 9 times out of 10, the parent just want to make sure that their kid is in the best situation possible. So what we really do is just preach the fact that not only are we just interested because, your football skill, we had to like you as a person, feel like you're fit for us before we take you on and want to bring you, want to represent you and do work on your behalf. So that's another strategy we use too, not just building them up on the field and stuff, but as an overall person, just learning, everything about life.
So from this recent draft, you guys have 4 clients. Is that the right word to say at this point?
Yes.
So Justin Lane, who ended up with the Steelers, BJ Blunt, who's with the Redskins, Jason Moore, who's with the Chargers, and Sharif Miller, who's with the Eagles. So for those 4 gentlemen, those 4 football players, what are you providing for them?
Business development, public relations, content creation, and digital marketing. So we do all of their outside of the field things that they would need, day-to-day basis work, making sure they have meal plans, making sure they're getting their workouts in. We work with some of the best business development companies, Apex Franchise Development Group, who is very good at finding small businesses before they blow up and just having our players invest money into those companies. Dawn to Dust is a public relations company. It's top 5 in the country. So we work with them. So Anthem is basically a hand-in-hand with different companies, partnerships to be the best for the players off the field.
Yeah. So I noticed what is the relationship with you guys in Anthem Sports? Because I noticed that you guys are also, it looks like you guys are employees of Anthem as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so can you talk a little bit about that relationship and how it developed and what you do for Anthem over and above what you're doing as part of Overtime?
Okay. Take that one.
So basically with the Anthem relationship, I was mentored my senior year project. I did with a guy named Nick Davis, who is head of the player development over at Anthem. So at the time, he had just really moved over to that company. So through there, I just built a great relationship with him, just letting him know, this is what I want to do. This is the field. We're trying to learn. And from there, I brought Reggie along because Reggie, we was in Overtime Sports Group together. And I knew Reggie wanted to learn just as much. So once we all sat together and, they all had a meeting with us one-on-one just to, see where we were, what we wanted from our future and how serious we were. And after we did that, they was ready, to bring us on board. We already had basically did a recruiting year the year before, but we wasn't with Anthem. So they kind of already knew who we were because of what we did before. But basically after that, it just came together and we got an agreement that last year, me and Reggie, for the most part, did most of the recruitment for Anthem. So even though Anthem is a 360 management company, me and Reggie at that time was inexperienced on how it looked. So we started off from the recruiting aspects, and ever since there, bringing in guys, we've been learning, the business, how to run their business, what day-to-day management, what it looks like to build their content creation, all of that thing. So we started off with Anthem recruiting. So the head recruiters at Anthem, me and Reggie, was going to college football games, scouting, put together a recruiting list for this year's draft that just passed, and we just went by every guy, reached out to him, attended a couple of games, got close, and the story is a history from there.
How do the coaches at the programs react to you guys being around? Because I know it's kind of a sticky subject sometimes, especially with eligibility aspects and things like that. How are the coaches? How do you guys navigate that part of what you guys do?
I feel like the coaches don't even take us serious either because I'm 20 years old, so it's just when the coaches see us around, they're like, okay, I mean, they don't
could be a student, right?
Right. They don't even know who I am really. So that's pretty much not that hard to navigate. But some programs have like where you can't even contact the player without sending like setting up paperwork, sending it to the office, and all of that type of stuff. So that's pretty much our toughest issue with some schools is that. But other than that, just reaching out to the clients over social media. Social media is like the biggest thing right now. So the coaches are mostly not involved unless we're like on the campus or around the athlete. But then again, they don't even know that we represent players.
And then too, it's not illegal either for us.
No.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, because a lot of coaches are very
strict.
they're strict and hands-on. They want every part of that.
Definitely. And the difference between Overtime and Anthem is a management company. So we don't handle any of the contract on the field. We handle like all marketing contracts and stuff like that. But the agencies that the players sign to, they handle the contracts with the teams.
So that's an interesting distinction there. So I know Michael Holmes has interned with the NFL last year. He's going to intern with the NBA this year. I know you've mentioned to me, Reggie, when we talked off the air, that his goal is to go to law school, become an agent.
Yes.
Okay. Is that the goal for all of you guys as well, to go down that road, or is it really you're going to have one agent and the rest of you guys are going to kind of work on the other aspects of the representation?
Yes. Micah will be our main agent. I haven't decided if I want to go get my agency degree, but not anytime soon. So me and Joe just gonna stay basically on the marketing aspects, the off the field stuff like that. So yeah, Micah will be our main agent. Everyone else will fill in their roles to do our PR, to handle our content, to handle our digital marketing. We're taking a lot of stuff from Anthem because it's what we see every day, and Anthem is very dynamic and a great company, probably the best company out on the sports management area.
And that's what we learned too, just from being with them, just how a team is supposed to work. Everybody can't do the same thing to make it, a successful business. Like you got an agent who do the agent, manage, who represent, PR, who clean up their image and stuff like that. So everybody needs to have, their own position in order for everything to run fluently.
Okay, and then so are your clients also Anthem clients as well?
There are only Anthem clients. Overtime hasn't pretty much been ran yet. It's just we just have the concept. We don't have any clients under Overtime. They're all under Anthem.
They're all under Anthem.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, if Mike was here, he's not here. One of our co-hosts is not here. It's kind of like a record label kind of thing, where the main label, and then you guys are trying to start your own label, which is Anthem is going to be where it's housed, kind of thing.
Right.
That's definitely how it kind of is. Like Anthem been like the big brother to our situation because we had the idea with Overtime Sports Group, but we really didn't know what that actually looked like what it looked like to do management and all that. But through Anthem, we've been able to get these experiences, so that therefore when we do decide it's time for Overtime Sports Group, we already have an idea on how everything's supposed to be done.
Right.
All right. So one of your clients was on our show a couple of weeks ago. Actually, the day before he got drafted,
Yep.
Justin Lane. And so how difficult was it you as Clevelanders to have him go to the Steelers, man? Because I'm going to tell you what, after having him on the show, I actually wept when it happened. I was like, I can't believe we just had a Pittsburgh Steeler on our show.
No, with Justin being a Steeler, it was heartbreaking, but it was kind of like we already knew because they really were interested in Justin, like the whole draft process.
And he had said that too.
Yeah,
So
so it was heartbreaking. I got some Steelers gear that I wore. I started itching when I put it on.
Crazy.
So
Justin's dad didn't like it either.
Not at all.
Like it at all.
Not at all. New bathroom, but
Yeah.
I feel like Pittsburgh is going to be a good
Great
place for him. It's going to be a great fit. He'll learn from Joe Hayden, the former Cleveland Brown, so he has that relationship with Cleveland that Justin has. So hopefully he takes him under his wing and teaches him as much as possible. But yeah, just him with being a Steeler is just tough.
And plus, we talk about this a lot on the show. While I love the city of Pittsburgh. I'm a Pittsburgh Pirate fan. I will never root for the Steelers ever.
Never.
But I will tell you this: they are one of the model franchises in the NFL. And as a defender, you can't go to a better place than that because they've been good as long as I've been alive.
Right.
So
Right.
and I'm old. So
Definitely a great situation.
So you kind of already talked about it a little bit earlier, but you have the free youth camp that I believe this is going to be your third one that you're putting on. You want to talk a little bit more about what you guys do during that? You kind of already brought up how it got started, but a little bit more on that.
Okay. So basically, this year is our third annual free youth camp for Overtime Sports Group. This year, though, will be the first year we aren't doing it alone. We've invited two other businesses as well along the process. So they deal with both of the businesses that are incorporated into our camp. Both of them deal with children and stuff. Like we had the Good to Great program that's also going to be a part of the camp. And they train kids, but they also build kids up to be young men. So it's more of a mentorship type of program. We also is working with the Good Life Foundation. D'Angelo Bentley is the creator of that. He's also the Penn State's defensive back coach, right?
Defensive back coach.
So
Former Glenville, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Illinois alumni.
For college.
Yes.
So those are two new things that we're doing a part of this camp. And this year we plan on bringing we have high school athletes a part of this camp. From previous years, we've been having the college football players come and teach, but we think this year would be better if the high school students did the camp stations, but the kids still get to take pictures with the NFL and college guys, as they're around the camp as well. So that's a little bit, Scoop. You want to touch on anything else about the camp?
So this year we'll also be having like a little cookout before the camp. We just want to teach kids fundamentals of the game. We'll have this is our first year doing two days for the camp. We'll have a practice day. Our first day is June 29th, and then our game day is June 30th. So I feel like last year or the year before, like we tried to cram everything in to fit these couple of hours, which is not like the best experience for kids because they do the drills and then they gotta just hurry up and do a game so we could get them out to their parents. So I feel like we felt like putting 2 days into the camp this year will be very beneficial and will help the kids out a lot.
and that's at you host that at Benedictine, right?
Benedictine. Yes.
And the camp is free, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And it's open to anybody?
Open to anybody.
Okay, so if there's somebody out there listening that has a kid or a nephew or a niece,
Yep. Ages
You know,
8
who-
to
who's
Actually, for a
interested?
second, I thought you were you wanted to go. Open to anybody.
I would embarrass myself. I would embarrass myself. And I'm out of eligibility anyway, so it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
How can they get information? How can they get involved?
They can call me at 216-225-9300. They can follow our Instagram page is at Overtime Sports G. That's for Twitter, Overtime Sports Group for Instagram. We have sign up links on our website. So those are 3 ways they can contact us.
And what is the website?
overtimesportsgroup.com.
Okay.
So those are the 3 ways to, sign your kids up, ages 8 through 13 at Benedictine.
So I'm guessing because of the nature of what you guys do, you got through this first draft here with the players that you have, and you're obviously going to be thinking about next year. How was that? You don't have to get into who you're going after, but how is that going for you guys from a recruitment perspective?
So we finished our recruitment list we probably finished it April 1st before the draft before the draft got started. That's a tough process because it's a lot of players. It's a lot of players, and there's 256 draft picks. So just making that list and breaking it down and knowing who's the most marketable and what positions are most marketable it's a tough process, but at the same time, it's a process that has to happen. So because we want to expand, 4 players was a good first, year, but we want to
Keep expanding.
Yeah, get it to about 10 next year. And then, never go over the 10 because it's hard to manage players on the day-to-day management, do all of that for each player. And we want to give 100% to each player, but the draft process is a lot different than veterans. So veterans want to handle a lot of things on their own, but the draft process is got to walk players through.
Now, just to walk us back real quick, you were talking about the social media aspects of the management. Do you guys actually take over their social media accounts or help them what they should be posting, what they shouldn't be posting, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, some players want us to take over their accounts, and some players, they just want to handle stuff by themselves. So it's whatever they prefer. But our digital marketing team is pretty nice.
Our digital marketing team is really good with knowing when to post the right things, how to grab your attention. Like they're like the GOATs, and when it comes to looking at numbers and being able to tell what's the right thing to post, when the right time, when you want to hit a specific audience.
Right.
So that's mainly how it goes. We got some athletes that come already with a great platform, but for the ones who don't, we take control of theirs as well.
Michael Gallup from Colorado State is one of our clients, Dallas Cowboys receiver. He has 172,000 followers, and that's outrageous for he's going into his 2nd year. So just with him, that's an example of how our platform works with digital marketing and how we make our players, better off the field.
When somebody wants to hire you guys, are your services a la carte? Is it a package deal? Are there a number of different packages? And then kind of how are you guys compensated? Is it flat fee? Is it a percentage of some deal you might find for us? What you're comfortable talking about. Talk about that a little bit if you would.
So we get a portion of their marketing opportunities. So whatever marketing opportunities we bring, we get a percentage of that. Our players pay us at a flat rate, a monthly rate, once they sign their first contract with the league. So that's how we get our payment. And then so it doesn't come in a package deal. You get our 4 services for a price. You get 3 services. If you want to do 3 services, you get that for a price, 2 services for a price. So
so there are different packages
Right,
then
yes.
that you are, depending upon, they can have the full gamut of what you guys offer to,
Right.
hey, I really want you guys for these 1 or 2 specific things,
Right.
and that's fine, and
Right.
the rest, it doesn't really,
Right.
I mean, you'd like it all, but
Right, yeah, we want to get our guys
you'll
there.
walk before you run.
Right, definitely. So
When you guys are out there trying to get the clients and talk them into what it is that you guys do and how you can help them, who do you find the most difficult to get that message to? Is it mom and dad, or is it the players themselves, or is it a combination of?
It's definitely the parents.
Yeah.
The parents is because the players, like we said, we do such a family orientated system where they feel comfortable. That's why the relationship with the player is so important, because when the mom is coming back like, who is this young boy who talking about he wanted to manage you? The player could be like, no, mom, like this is what he showed me. This is what they got going on. They can really speak on our behalf.
So is it usually mom the most difficult sell?
Definitely. The mom, they be that little boy, so they don't want anybody that's why they want to make sure if they give you their son, not give you, but if they trust you with their son, that it's in good hands.
So it's a little bit like Benedictine in that aspect with one of the things that we always just say, if you can get mom in the building.
Mm-hmm.
So for you guys, if you can convince mom, you got a pretty good shot at working
definitely.
with her. So let me ask you this. So I got to know Justin's father a little bit better than I got to know his mother. I worked some pregame meals with her, but it seems like his dad was everywhere.
Right.
How difficult was it to convince the Lanes that you guys were the right people for Justin?
I feel like mom was easier because, when me and Joe and Justin, we have a very personal relationship where we hang out outside of doing anything involved with sports. So with them just trusting me and trusting that I wouldn't put their son in any bad position was a big step for us in signing Justin. But I feel like it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but it was still a tough process because at the same time it's still like
because they know you too.
They know me, so they know me, and it's like maybe he just, I don't think they ever thought like that, but it can come up to like maybe he just want to sign our son just to get his stuff off the ground, but it's genuine, and we're putting him in a great position with a great company, and we only have our best benefit for him in the long run.
And his dad's one of those guys that I always said, if you didn't know that Justin was a big-time college football player, I almost said basketball player at the Freudian slip, and then you met DeAndre, you probably wouldn't know that his son was a big-time college football player, because that's just the way that he was, which is one of the things I always kind of admired and respected about him, was he just kind of went about his business, and whatever happened, and things are working out okay.
And I think you saw that when on the radio, or saw it on the radio, but when they had when he interviewed on 92.3, you could actually see that. That was the fan talking. Mm-hmm. That wasn't dad talking.
Right. Yeah.
that was like,
he's not dad.
Right.
He's a fan first.
Right.
He was a fan first, and no one would have ever thought Justin would have played football. He was better at basketball to me. So, but he just got blessed with all those football offers at a young age, at 15 as a sophomore. So, I just feel like the football fell in his lap, but you would have never thought he would have been a football player.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he was supposed to go to the NBA.
Well, that's actually what Terry had said to him. He goes, when you sat down here, we were going to talk about the draft.
Right.
You never in a million years thought it was the NFL draft.
Right. No, he was a 6'3" point guard with bounce.
Right. Jump shot, handles. He could do it all.
So I'm going to give the obligatory business college question. Where do you guys see yourselves in 5 years?
You answered that, Reggie.
I see us in 5 years. I see us owning our own agency. I feel like Overtime will be off the ground running. I got a year left for school. Micah has about a year left for school. Joe got a year left for school. So once we finish our degrees and get our degrees out the way, and it's a big investment to start an agency. So once I feel like we have that money and we're ready, then it'll be in the next 5 years. We'll have Overtime up and running. But until then, we still working with Anthem and just building our platform, building everything, learning from those guys every day, and just trying to soak in as much knowledge as possible.
If I remember correctly, you guys have a sponsorship deal with Body Armor. Is that correct?
Yeah, they had I wouldn't say a sponsorship, because at the time Body Armor, they loved what Overtime Sports Group stood for. They loved our camp, but they just told us it was a little bit of space for sponsorships. So basically, they didn't have a lot left open for sponsorship. But they sent us a couple of free packages, just for their support, and they said keep them in the loop, and they love what we're doing, and they want to be a part of the camp. So that was real big for us. We had never got that before, but Body Arm, they really like the camp. They like the idea, the free youth camp, and everything that we trying to do. So they want to be a part of it for future references. So that was actually a good little partnership they did with us.
And how much has the camp grown? Where was it year one, and where do you guys hope it is here year three in terms of number of participants?
Year one, 70 people come out. Last year it rained, so it was kind of hard, hard for us to really tell, how many would have came out. But we still got about like 70, 65, 60 kids that came out. But this year we plan on those numbers, being double, 100 at least.
Hopefully,
because like I said, we dealing with 2 other businesses that work with kids as well, so they had their own following, just like we had our own buzz as well. So this year we plan on it being the biggest camp that we've had so far.
Yeah, we have more members this year too. Last year we was doing 3 members. We were just getting started with Anthem as well, so with us expanding, that's going to help us out a lot. We have some great guys in overtime that are just working hard and helping us when we have stuff to do for Anthem. They're covering our backs. They're promoting on our social media. DJ is handling. He's doing great on our social media, posting every time he gets a chance. So we have a lot of good feedback coming from this camp.
Who, if you don't mind, who are some of the athletes that are going to be taking part in helping with the camp this year?
We'll have a lot of high school guys around the city, some of the top high school guys, Charles from Benedictine, Justin Woodley from Cleveland Heights, just to name a couple guys. We're going to hope to have all our Anthem clients at the camp as well, our newly recruited clients. As far as NFL guys, college guys, our guys we're recruiting for our 2020 draft class. We want to make sure they're there to give the kids something that they can remember.
All right. Who were some of your guys' early influences?
That got us into sports.
Yeah.
Sure. I would say I had 2 influences. The guy who we worked with, Nick Davis, because he's from the same neighborhood as that I'm from. So I knew what the sports looked like based off what he was doing. And then also Rich Paul. He was a big influence too. He went to Benedictine too. So we kind of got the back scoop of him, LeBron, Maverick Carter, all their stories when we were in high school. So those were 2 people that really inspired me. But I would say mainly really Nick, he was just, I seen it. Rich Paul, he inspired too, but Nick, it was different because I was with him every day and he kind of showed me the ropes on how to do everything I'm doing. So those 2 would be what got me started. Well, not what got me started, but you get what I'm saying. And then Reggie.
Working with Kelton Crenshaw. We worked with Kelton Crenshaw
our
first year. Our first year in the sports industry. So we worked with him hand in hand our first year. So I would say Nick Davis too. That's like our brother. Like he really been helping us with the day-to-day, the player relationships, and just teaching us step to step how to do everything. Obviously, Rich Paul, Benedictine grad, Maverick Carter, just watching those guys on YouTube and just seeing how they built Clutch up with Rich being Brian friend from high school. So just those guys are our biggest influence, I would say.
And do you see yourselves being football exclusive forever, or do you want to expand also into other sports?
No, we want to do basketball and baseball and
everything,
track, whatever, all aspects of sports. Football is just the easiest to get into.
Okay.
So, but we definitely want to expand to basketball. We plan on going to the summer league this summer in Las Vegas to try to get some guys and recruit out there.
I have a question about what have you guys found to be the most difficult part of what it is you guys are trying to market to the players?
Most difficult part.
The most difficult part, it's just probably separating us from everybody else and getting players to understand that we aren't an agency and that they can sign with an agency and us. that's probably our most difficult part that I would say, because players don't understand that until we have to literally sit them down and just, you know, get them to understand that this is your management, this is what we're responsible for, this is your agency, this is what they're really responsible for, and they don't have to do this other stuff. So that would be our hardest part of selling.
And on the reverse of that, what do you think the most difficult part of being a professional athlete in today's climate is, and how do you guys see yourselves helping them navigate that?
Social media, everything is blown up. You see everything, you can't hide anything. Whatever happens bad, they're going to make a big deal of it. They want to tear you down before they want to build you up in this industry right now. So I feel like that's the hardest part about being an athlete, because at the end of the day, that's their job. They love what they do. They love to go to work and grind. They love to work out and just play football. So that's the easy part. And all the marketing stuff, that's what we handle. So just with them, making sure they know, like, whatever I do is will be blown up.
So are you guys, in part of what you guys are doing, are you vetting people for the athletes that you represent? So one of the things you mentioned earlier was, making sure they're on a good meal plan. I mean, are you guys vetting chefs, for example?
Yeah, so we get our chefs, well, not their chefs, but we reach out to different people to prepare their meals and stuff like that. So yeah, we
or food service companies, maybe is a better word than chefs.
Yeah.
We basically, whatever city they're in or situation, we look for, we look around the city basically on who does the best meal prepping. We might have an athlete that's already in that city or that has been there before. We might ask them, what suggestion, what type of meal prep were you on, who were you, dealing with, and things like that. So when it comes to that part, it's mainly just about the research that we had to do on our own, just to, make sure they're in good hands.
And in a situation like that, so let's say you guys are young in terms of in the business, so you don't have a huge parcel of clientele. So when you reach out to somebody, let's say you reach out to a Steeler player,
right?
Because that's where Justin is now.
Right.
Are you guys running into any resistance when you're asking these guys for advice and their experience in terms of trying to get your people with the right people?
Yes, definitely. So sometimes reaching out doesn't work, where like they might not even respond to me, or they might not respond to my client if I want them to reach out, because they have such a large inquiry where they get thousands and thousands of DMs about different players. So that's pretty tough for us to just get in contact with people. But when people understand, like, okay, they're serious, they know, then they're like, okay, now let's do business. And that's the easy part, just because we're real people and we just want to talk to them, make the best for both situations. We're not just looking for the best for our player, but we want to make sure your company gets brought up or you get your acknowledgement for helping us.
And then, too, we have a great support system, too. So, like, if there's any doors that me and Reggie can't get through, somebody in Anthem can.
Right. So,
they'll join the process and get in where they need to in order to help us continue to progress.
Yeah, definitely. Our CEO Larry Lemons and our owner Larry Lemons, CEO Joe, and Nick Davis, they all have tons of relationships. They've been in the job for years and years, worked with more companies than just Anthem, so they're pretty experienced.
And it creates an opportunity for you guys too, even if the what's the right word here? So even if the interaction with the player, in the case where you're reaching out to, let's say, a Steeler, like we talked about, even if it doesn't get you the answer that you want, it's still an opportunity for you guys to build a relationship,
right,
and at least have something positive come out of it. Okay, hey, you know what? We thought you might be able to help us. You couldn't.
Right.
Great, no problem. You move on. You at least leave them with a good taste in their mouth that, okay, hey, these guys are trying to do something right. For whatever reason, I'm not going to help them right now, but you never know. It could come back 3-5 years down the line where somebody says, hey, I remember that Reggie Flowers, Joe Herriott, these guys contacted me. They're so-and-so's representatives. I'm having a little issue with where I'm at. Maybe I ought to talk to these guys.
And that's what we preach, too. Sometimes it's not always about the dollar and what you can get money-wise, but sometimes the relationship is more important. Mm-hmm. So, it might be times where, it might not – both parties don't see an agreement. But like you said, that relationship is very key. So we always tend to continue to build great relationships. And like you said, who knows in the future where, we can land at.
And it's got to be very helpful that you guys, while you guys are trying to build your brand, you have somebody helping you facilitate that. So you're not really starting on the ground floor, which is probably a very positive in what you guys are doing.
Yeah, right now, but like we said, we started overtime at 16 years old.
Yeah,
so like we really did start from
I mean, the work
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
part has already been done,
Right,
kind of thing.
right. So just we didn't went through our bumps and our bruises with not getting clients, with failing to get clients. So now it's just like, okay, we have this great support system. Now all we have to do is just give our 100% to our supporters, and they're going to help us get our foot in the door, make sure we got clients, make sure we know like exactly what we need to do.
How did you guys? What was the initial first step to get connected to Anthem? How did that all kind of take place?
Joe?
Yeah, basically through the relationship that I had built with Nick through the senior project. He was like real, ahead of the player development department. So when Scoop came to the table, Reggie, and we all discussed and talked, basically Nick preached on our behalf to Anthem on who we are, what we wanted to do, how serious we were, and all of that. And then the CEO came and talked to us. So basically, that's how we got into Anthem. They just wanted to know, did we really see a future in this? Where were our goals? Where were our mental at when starting it? So after talking to them and having smooth conversations and them understanding what we wanted, and that this is really the field that we truly love and want to be in. From there, it was just on us to do the work. They said we're gonna give y'all the opportunity.
And it's funny, most kids, I'm not calling you kids because you're younger than me, but at 16, they're trying to get a job at Starbucks or something. You guys were trying to start something big.
Yeah, definitely.
And I will say this to all of the kids out there that don't think your senior project can pay off. There you go.
Living testimony.
Right.
Living
There you
testimony,
go.
yeah, definitely. So take that senior project serious. You never know who
Right.
can give you that opportunity. He didn't give us the opportunity right then, but it came back years around.
Right.
But again, positive interaction, laid some groundwork.
Right.
And I think one of the other things that's interesting too, and it's, since Pat and I are a little older, we've seen a lot. One of the things you learn is that if you chase what you love, the money comes.
Exactly.
It follows.
Exactly.
If you chase the money, you might always be chasing the money.
Right.
So I think it's real interesting, and it's very commendable that you guys there's a passion there's a dream there's a love there, and you guys are trying to let that kind of guide you and push you guys along,
Right.
as opposed to we want to do this because there's money in it.
Right. Yeah, we always wanted to do the sports management. We always wanted to get into that, and we just love this. We don't feel like it's work to us, so it's just how we want to live our lives. Is helping other players get to the best they can be all outside the field, on the field. We want to push our players, hold them accountable. Like, if you just work hard, then you can be a Hall of Famer. You can make the most marketing dollars outside of your sport. You can do all of that. So that's just how we feel on a relationship standpoint and the genuineness of us becoming representatives of their brands and stuff like that.
So obviously right now your clientele is pretty new to the league and stuff like that. Do you plan on also working with players, after they retire, because there are clearly guys who don't play football anymore that still get sponsorship deals and things like that?
We don't really want to sign players after they retire, but we definitely will hold and maintain like our relationships with our players from rookies to veterans to retirees, or we will always have that relationship, always source deals for those guys. We represent, I think, 6 or 7 veterans right now, so we don't really handle too much of that because our other people in the Anthem handle those guys, but we still have our personal relationships with those veterans and those things.
Is that something you guys see, in the near future, going after players that are already established in the league that may not have the services that you guys can render?
Yes, we doing that now still. Like, we just want to make sure all our players, players we recruit, we still recruit players that are in the league who don't have management, because a lot of players don't have management, and sometimes they might not hear from their agent, but that's what we're there for. We're there to be somewhat of what the agent does, but at the same time handle all of the stuff that the agent might or may not want to do.
And then too, we young, so we looked at it like, we might as well manage over guys who are coming into a new situation as well. So it's a new situation for both of us than going to directly manage a vet. And, he might expect certain things already off the bat that we may not even know, exist.
Right.
So that's why we strategize with the young guys that we got that entered the new draft, because it's like we all growing and building together.
So how do you guys manage it? You brought that up, Joe. How do you guys manage the limitations, so to speak, that are there right now because of, there are certain places where you really don't have experience where, as Joe said, a veteran might want a larger package of things, and they're just not things that you guys right now are capable of providing. How do you overcome that? What's the big challenge there?
We're getting thrown in the fire every time it's something new that we don't know. So with us, it's just a learning curve, like a bump that you bump over every time you try to learn. Okay, how do I go about sending this email? How do I respond to this email and stuff like that? So, but we have a lot of support where if we just have a question like we need to ask like Nick, we just ask him and then he'll give us the answer, or we just learn on the spot and just take our bumps and our bruises. And if we don't get that deal, we don't get it, or if we do, we do. But just navigating with that is it's tough. But at the same time, we just have a lot of support. Like our company backs us, and they tell us whatever we want to do. Like whatever we want to learn, we can learn.
Mm-hmm.
We still in school. I'm still in school for sports management and stuff like that. So I'm learning, in the school aspect as well. But with Anthem, whatever we want to know, we can find out.
Exactly. And then too, like they're not gonna give us the answer, but they'll help us get to how we can get it on our own. Basically, they'll walk us through like we need something done. Now, if it's something that we really can't handle, that's really out of our control, then they'll step in. But for the most part, if it's something that that comes our way that we don't know, we'll hit them up and, they'll tell us like the best way. So maybe you should go about it like this, or maybe you ever thought about such and such, and basically help guide us to the answer that, we actually need.
So they basically teach you how to fish instead of giving you the fish.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Because everything, they gave us a great opportunity, but everything like we had to do was, we had to do it on our own. Like, even before we started with Anthem, me and Reggie did a whole recruiting class the year before, and it didn't go nowhere near how we thought it would have went. But that was learning curves, and it put us in the situation that we was able to be in to this day. So everything's been learning. We just been learning as we've been going. Also having failures, but learning from those failures, which is the most important lesson. So.
Biggest surprise you guys have encountered in the 3 years you've been doing this, rough numbers? It actually goes a little bit longer than that, but
Biggest surprise,
positive or negative?
The biggest surprise was actually signing players, because we went a year without signing anybody. So that whole year was just like the longest year of our lives, because we had a whole recruiting situation where we were recruiting and then no one signed with us, and then for us to just have to. All right, so now we just started from zero. We started from scratch, where we didn't know if players was going to sign with us. We didn't know if players was going to be able to, trust us. So our biggest, it wasn't a surprise, but it was a surprise at the same time, because just with us going through that experience of not signing someone and then signing 4 players was like our biggest surprise, a great experience for us.
Well, it sounds like you guys are well on your way to getting where you need to go, and we appreciate you taking a few minutes. You can sit with us. We're going to talk some NBA draft here in a minute.
Okay.
If you guys want to sit in, you're more than welcome to stay.
Yeah, we definitely.
But we want to thank you for taking the time to tell everybody what you guys got going on with Overtime Sports Group and Anthem, and all of the things that you guys are going to be doing here in the very near future and well beyond. So thank you very much for that. So anyway, tonight is draft lottery night.
It is.
And I want to go out on record as saying that the New York Knicks getting the pick will not be as surprising as who I think is going to wind up with the pick. The Los Angeles Lakers have a 2% chance of getting the pick, which is only slightly less than when the Cleveland Cavaliers got Kyrie Irving.
Right.
Who?
That's
You
crazy.
remember Kyrie used to play
Yeah.
point guard here. He made a pretty famous shot.
He was a pretty good Robin.
Yeah, he was a pretty good Robin. I don't think he liked being Robin.
No,
but,
I don't think he did either.
But it would not surprise me tonight if the commissioner goes through all of those teams and the very last name he calls is the Los Angeles Lakers. And if that happens, then you know, if you didn't already know that there's something not so above board with the NBA draft. I mean, everybody thought about the frozen envelope with Patrick Ewing a long time ago, that kind of thing. And the fact that the Cavaliers won about, it seemed like 11 in a row they got the number one pick. But it would not surprise me one iota today if the Lakers get that pick.
So let me ask you this. What do you think they do with the pick if they get it?
That's funny because when I was talking to my son Brandon about this before we got here, he said they would be just about dumb enough to trade it for Anthony Davis, which is something that the Knicks have been talking about too.
Because we all know LeBron doesn't like playing with draft picks.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I think LeBron has been on record as saying that Zion's a little bit different.
Yeah. Or John Morant.
Yeah, that would be an interesting.
But with Lonzo, I
Right.
don't feel like they'll take him. But with Zion, I feel like Brian.
It's funny because I've heard for the first time over the last couple of days, people now questioning. They're making some comparisons between Zion and Joel Embiid, and not in a good way. From the standpoint of doesn't have a great diet, that big body, maybe the knees are not going to hold up through 10, 12, 15 years in the NBA. It's kind of interesting how everybody gets scrutinized, now that you get to this point.
I would say, as a casual observer of college basketball, I've caught Duke games because they're obviously on TV.
Yeah, more than Leave It to Beaver reruns.
Right.
As
all the
Pete
time.
Gillen
Right,
once
right.
so eloquently spoke.
I probably
told
caught
us.
5 or 6 games, including the Gonzaga game at the Maui Classic this year. If there's a better basketball player in the country right now at his age than Zion Williamson, I'd like to know who it is.
I want to know who that is.
Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you have the number one pick and you do not take that guy, he is going to torture you for the next 15 years. So as much as there are some other players in this draft that are nice pieces, he's the whole puzzle.
Whole thing
In my-
put together.
Is it possible that Ja Morant becomes Michael Jordan to Zion's Akeem?
I think it is.
Me too.
Yeah, I think there. If you're going to use that comparison, yes. I think whoever winds up with Morant isn't going to get a bad basketball player.
Nah.
I don't necessarily know if he's going to be the game changer that Michael Jordan was.
Mhm.
And again, we lived through that draft. There's nobody ever going to tell me that Akeem wasn't the right pick. I mean, it's Portland that actually screwed it up.
Right.
It wasn't the Rockets. The Rockets
Right.
took the right guy.
Right.
So, and again, if you have the number one pick and you think that Anthony Davis is the difference between you being, let's just say the Knicks. Actually, the Knicks are probably not the right, but let's just say the Lakers did wind up with it. If you think Anthony Davis is the difference between you and winning the West and then competing for a championship, I'm not sure that that's the case.
Not just with Anthony Davis.
Right.
Me.
But if you take Zion, he has got to be covered the entire game by somebody.
Mhm.
And hey, and by the way, he plays defense, which is something that is at a very big premium in the NBA right
Right.
now.
Right.
I mean, he shot blocks like a 7-footer.
Right.
What happens, though, if Kevin Durant, as people are now starting to intimate, ends up in New York with the Knicks? Doesn't that open up a little bit the West? if you're the Lakers and you say, hey, this is the opportunity. Yes, Zion might be the better longer term, but they need to make a splash now.
The Warriors, the last 2 games, would disagree with that statement.
I'm not saying that it's wrong.
Right.
I just posed the question.
I mean, I don't think it's
I
over.
think if there's a window to be closed, it's obviously Golden State. Okay.
Mhm.
Right.
That being said, until somebody knocks them off, that window stays open. And right now, the best that they could muster, in my opinion, was the Houston Rockets, and you see what happens to them every year.
Right.
Now, this is going to be an interesting series because if there's a team in the West that's kind of like the Golden State Warriors, it's the Portland Trail Blazers.
Missing a piece.
Now, but the difference is the guys on the Warriors have been there and done that, and these guys are coming to this the very first go around.
But I kind of like Portland chances though. I like the underdog mentality they've been attacking this whole season. I didn't expect them to get to the Western Conference Final. I thought OKC was going to beat them in the first round. So with Dame stepping up, I feel like him and CJ McCollum have taken their leadership to another level.
Local kid.
Yeah.
Yep,
Akron.
3-3-0.
Yeah, Akron.
So
Canton Glen Oak?
yep. So I like Portland's chances though. I'm not saying they're gonna win this series, but I don't think it's a lot. I've been hearing a lot of people saying 5 or 4. I honestly think it'll go 6.
Now, you guys are in marketing, so I'm going to say this and you're going to smile, but the worst thing that could happen in the NBA right now is that the Portland plays Milwaukee.
Yeah.
No, that would
And I don't care how big Giannis is. In my opinion, he's the best player in the league right now.
Right.
I'll tell you.
Kawhi playing
I
crazy right
was
now.
actually telling Terry this the other day. Under the circumstances, that might be the best buzzer-beating shot from a drama
Oh, my
perspective in
God.
the history of the game.
has to be.
That was the
Boom,
first.
boom, 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 boom.
As soon as it hit the rim, I was like, we going to overtime. And then it did another bounce. Then it bounced 2
How
times.
many times has anybody ever seen a basketball bounce
I've
straight up and down 4 times?
That was the first time I ever
Right.
seen that. That was the first Game 7 game winner in history too. So that was one of the craziest
Kawhi
shots I ever
all
seen.
calm. He don't have no type of expression. I remember I saw them tell him that, and he just sat at the pole like, "Oh, okay."
I just went to the corner and I shot it as high as I could, and it went in.
He did say he threw. I think he said I threw a shot with no spin. That's why it did that.
Right, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was pretty close to a dead ball, that's for sure.
And on top of it, I don't think you could defend that play any better than the
No
Sixers
way.
did.
No way. They had Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid running.
My
at him.
question is why Jimmy Butler isn't on him. He ran. I mean, I feel like he ran right past like Ben Simmons, and then Ben Simmons pushing Embiid to contest. He
Right.
he caught Embiid off balance.
right. So
Embiid was kind of leaning a little
Right.
out, and he was
Right.
able to get past
he
him.
had a
and-
great view at the shot.
Yeah.
I feel like, but it's still a 7-foot guy coming at you.
Mhm.
So, but I just want to know why Jimmy Butler wasn't guarding Kawhi in that situation.
Yeah, that's a good question too.
I'm
So-
sure that was asked probably multiple times by
Right.
multiple people, not only the media in Philadelphia, but
Right.
probably them fans too.
Right.
Definitely. I think they believe in Ben Simmons a little bit too much. I heard the coach saying, his defense ability is crazy, like out this world. Like he could be one of the best defenders in the league, which I'm not saying that's not true, but that scenario, that case, I don't know if I leave him on there instead of Jimmy Butler.
So one of the things that I saw proposed on national media, and I kind of want to get your guys' take on it, is I think it was Chris Broussard said that the Rockets should try and trade Chris Paul for Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons is good, but he doesn't really mix well with what Joel Embiid needs to do in Philadelphia, because you can't post up Joel because Ben Simmons doesn't have a 3-ball, and that the Rockets need to get younger.
Well, the Rockets definitely need to get younger. They got to do. They kind of remind me, and it's funny because Harden is part of both of these teams. They kind of remind me of OKC before Durant obviously left. Just good enough to not be good enough.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's
Right.
kind of like the Rockets. And again, when you're putting up, 30 threes a game, if you're not on, they don't play any defense
That's
at
the first
all.
half, Pat.
Right? No, I'm just saying that's the first half, but they don't really play any defense. So they have to change something if they're going to, be a serious contender. The funny thing I did see was Ben Simmons for LeBron, and that was floating around today.
Yeah, I seen that.
Now, I don't know about the craziness of it. I don't think it's crazy to think that LeBron might not be a Los Angeles Laker. That part,
right. That's.
I would have to think that there have to be something like. I'm not sure why the Lakers would do that other than to just get themselves out from underneath LeBron, but why would you do that?
Why would you bring in Ben Simmons?
Right. They got 7 of those guys right now.
Exactly. I feel like Ben Simmons is one of the worst half-court players in the league because, he scores all the transition. He doesn't he handles the rock, but he doesn't really handle the rock as well. Jimmy Butler gets it. They got Joel Embiid at the 3-point line now. So what is he? Where does he fit in? And then with James Harden, I feel like James Harden is so ball dominant that he doesn't. Sure. Him and Chris Paul won't work because Chris Paul needs the ball and James Harden needs the ball to shoot whatever he got to shoot. And Ben Simmons is just gonna come need the ball, and he can't shoot threes. So
So is that why that might work?
It might work in Houston.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that why that might work in your eyes?
Yeah, it can work because all he wanted to do was pass the ball. So,
but I feel like Houston to be Golden State, you need more scoring.
Yeah,
and I don't really see Ben Simmons changing a series outcome with that series. Just as much as I don't want to say because Chris Paul kind of had a bad series this season. I'm starting to see the age and now. But 15, 17, 18 points, I can see Ben Simmons averaging, but that's not enough to change the outcome. I feel like Houston need another I honestly don't know what Houston needs.
In a lot of ways, James Harden is the modern day Wilt Chamberlain, and I mean that not in a positive way, because teams have just said, you know what, we're going to let him score as much as he wants. Mm-hmm. We're just going to stop everybody else.
Right. Exactly.
And that's kind of how the Celtics were able to beat the 76ers at the time and then the Lakers all those years in the finals, because they just let Wilt go ahead, get 50. Go ahead, we'll stop everybody else.
Right.
But with the if Ben Simmons went to Houston, since we're playing with scenarios here,
right.
Could he? And he's not going to shut him down, but could he contain either of the Splash Brothers? Could he contain Curry? Could he contain Klay Thompson enough that his not being a 25-point scorer would help?
Maybe Klay, not Steph.
Yeah,
the only person I've ever seen stop Steph, honestly, is Delly.
Well, yeah, Delly.
Delly. That's when Delly gave him the most points in 2015.
Right.
And then even with Klay, I feel like he would really have to commit to playing defense. Right. It would have to be because he got to run through a lot of screens. Right. Klay going to run all over the court, so he would have to chase him, be on his hip. He would really have to commit to playing defense. And
Klay is he's a better second option than he is a third option. So
definitely.
If KD was to leave and he would only be the second option, then.
But Alex, aren't they both? I think they're both free agents.
Yeah, I feel like either one will be there. I feel like.
You think one or the other will be there?
Yeah, if one stays, I feel like why would KD leave? They're just gonna keep winning championships.
All right. KD's shown though that he really cares about his public opinion.
Yeah.
And people aren't going to take him seriously in an all-time perspective until he wins something not with the Golden State Warriors.
That's funny that you said that, Alex, because that's.
Well, Reggie can help, and Joe can help him with that.
Yeah. Yes, he can. Absolutely.
Definitely.
I think that's the biggest difference. A lot of people say, well, LeBron did it. Well, LeBron did it, but he realized, 3.5 years in, that he needed to do something different and brought it back. I don't think KD has figured that part out yet. He hasn't figured out just how ridiculous jumping from a team that was up 3-1 to a 73-win team.
Then beat you, and then you go.
Right.
to
I
that
mean, you
team.
literally, if he stays, we could be talking about OKC with a couple of titles at this point.
Right. Or Golden State Cavs rematch where we both have our full squad. You know, every year it's something. With 15, Kyrie, Kevin Love hurt, and then 16 they want to say Draymond suspension, and then 17 they won. But how do you after 16? How do you go? How do you pick that?
Is that the reason for him to go though? Maybe he has figured that out and says I have to go somewhere. And again, he'd be on a grandest stage in New York. He'd turn around a franchise that's been abysmal. Not the word of the day. Right. Okay. And if he could do it there, don't you think that would rehab his?
Are you saying
his
if he
image?
could do it there, he can
Do
make
it anywhere? Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't. It's not above me to be cliche.
Yeah.
You know that.
No,
But think about it. I mean,
Nah.
okay. Hey, look.
But
I'm taking all this heat because of what I did. In order to rectify it, to right the wrong, I've got to go somewhere and bring somebody from the dregs, from the bottom of the barrel,
right.
and bring
Win a
them up.
championship.
And
Gotta win a
I don't care
championship.
who was around him, if it's Kyrie, if it's Zion, if it's whoever else he can get to go with him. I think that would be redemption for him.
I mean, he tries to put on the fake tough guy act, but I mean, we're talking about a dude who had burner accounts to defend himself on Twitter. Like, this dude clearly cares about what the public thinks of him.
And New York is not the kind of place you can do that.
Right.
And to your point, I don't think that Kevin Durant is that guy. I don't think he's the guy that takes your team from being awful to a contender.
I don't know.
I'm not saying it happens if it's just him. Obviously, there's going to be a
Well,
draw
right now,
for some other people.
I don't think anybody sitting at this table would disagree with what I'm about to say. How do you count on Kyrie? And again, I'm not talking about his basketball.
Right.
Because if he goes to play basketball, he's arguably one of the best finishers in the game.
Right.
But when's the last time he came to play basketball?
Right.
Mental toughness.
I think the shot he hit against Golden State might be the last time he's actually come to play basketball. Because that entire next year in Cleveland, he was gonzo.
Yeah,
Right.
That's true. I think definitely I can see KD leaving though, like what you were saying, like because I think he thinks as himself as one of the greatest of all time. Not saying he feel like he the greatest, but I know he want to be in that conversation. So I feel like he knows, like, okay, I learned what I had to learn in Golden State, but now if I really want to be considered one of the best, I know I had to do it not on my own, but I know I have to lead my own team to that promise. So I can see him leaving for that reason. But that would be the only reason, because if he stayed with Golden State, they could keep winning. However.
And again, until the Knicks prove me wrong, nobody has ever gone there and done it. Yeah. The last time they had a decent team, John Starks was playing shooting guard for them.
What y'all think about KD and Kawhi possibly linking up at the Clippers in LA together?
I hadn't heard that. I heard Kawhi to the Clippers. I didn't hear about
that. They were saying KD could possibly land there as well. And then he would get to face LeBron, like
LA.
The Kings of LA, so it would really hype up that. I don't know. But that would be a crazy Kawhi.
To me, Kawhi is the guy, I think, of the free agent class.
Yeah, he's definitely the guy.
If you're trying to transition from being a middle-of-the-road kind of basketball team to a contender, that's the guy.
Kawhi's the guy to me too.
Well, and that takes us back to earlier you talked about, the possibility of the Lakers trading LeBron. One of the reasons that they would possibly trade LeBron would be to get Kawhi.
Right.
Because I think it's readily apparent that Kawhi does not want to be a Laker with LeBron.
Nope, he does not. He said it. I mean, he basically said it out loud.
So if there's no movement and he goes to L.A., I think he's much more likely to be a Clipper than a Laker. But it would be interesting. And again, are we going to find out finally what other star wants to play with LeBron?
And I don't know LeBron. I mean, personally,
nor do I.
I know what the media says about him.
Right.
But it's hard to not read that narrative when you're looking at it, because he's never. I mean, let's face it. Kevin Love came here in a trade.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
because he didn't like playing with draft choices.
Right. at the end of the day, Kyrie was already here.
Mhm.
I mean, Wade and Bosch are kind of the guys that they all chose each other.
Right.
And it
But-
took them 3 years to pull it off.
Well, they did go. They just couldn't beat anybody for a while, but they did go to the
No, but I mean,
they took them
they're
3
planning
years.
it. They were planning that for 3 years.
For sure.
Definitely.
But that was already Wade's team. He'd already won a championship with with Shaq at that point.
Right.
I'm not sure any combination that includes Kyrie Irving is somebody that you take serious. And that's not to say they wouldn't,
Right.
but I personally wouldn't take him serious until I saw whether he was coming to play basketball or not. Because he can talk about flat Earth all he wants. At the end of the day, I don't need you to talk to me about science. I need you to talk to me about who's going to hit this shot when we need it. We need to be able to stop the opposing point guard from basically going off.
I feel like that's Kyrie being with LeBron. He might need that big brother. Kyrie's the leader of that team. So, and I feel like it's not a knock to Kyrie, but he's just not that. He's not that type of leader where he's going to lead them to the promised land. Kyrie is more of a get my own type of player. So,
And again, I'm saying this without any knowledge of what went on behind the scenes.
right.
But I think that had less to do with LeBron and more to do with Kyrie and how he felt he was being treated by by not only the fans, but more importantly the front office.
Right, definitely.
Because nobody in their right mind. I mean, you'd have to be completely a lunatic to go. I don't want to. I go to the finals every year. Why would
I want to do that? Why would I want to not go to the finals?
Right. And again, what did LeBron do the year he was gone? He took them to the finals without him. So and beat him. Well, he didn't play, but his team beat his team.
We had that discussion, though. I mean, I'm a firm believer that he knew LeBron was leaving and said,
I'm not going to be
I don't want to be the stud here because there isn't going to be anybody here.
Right.
And felt like Boston was his opportunity.
Well, he'd already seen that movie because he was the stud here for 3
years.
years.
And he couldn't do anything.
And they won 28 games or whatever it was. But I think what you saw in Boston this year was the younger guys didn't respect him. They thought that Tatum and these other guys were just, whatever you say, Kyrie, whatever you say. And that didn't happen. And I think, again, I can't get inside of his head, but I think that probably, hopefully, for the sake of his career, it made him realize, you know what? Hey, KD's going to go to New York. I'm going to go with him because you know what? I'm okay being Robin again.
Maybe. And if they wind up with that frozen envelope tonight, it could be a complete game changer as far as New York goes.
They get Zion.
Right.
Kevin Durant, Kyrie probably jumping to New York.
Right. That would be a nice little big 3 for the future.
But until you see it play out,
We just never know.
I still would like to understand who's going to play defense.
Yeah.
Now Zion, he can play. Well, what does that do about Porzingis and guys like, you know what I mean?
I forgot Porzingis is there.
Porzingis is in Dallas.
No, yeah.
They traded him.
Porzingis
I'm
in
sorry.
Dallas,
Sorry, you're right.
DeAndre Jordan. They
Yeah.
got like guys.
They got Trey
They got
Burke.
DeAndre. See, this is how much I follow the Knicks. I didn't even realize
They got
DeAndre Jordan was it.
Dennis Smith.
Kevin
Lonzo
Lonzo Tree, but them guys,
Yeah, they got a
they're
young
gonna have to
team.
they're gonna have to get rid of.
So
some
they
of
got the
those guys.
Cavs basically.
That's basically who they got.
Right.
They definitely do.
So what did you guys think of Jim Beelan getting the head coaching job?
Michigan. Ugh.
Harv just fell out of his chair.
I hate Michigan. I mean, but in the basketball aspect, I mean, he's a good coach. He led them to 2 Final Fours. They won a couple, 3 or 4 Big Ten championships while he was there. But at the end of the day, he's from Michigan, so he's a Michigan coach.
I got blasted yesterday for posting
Phrasing.
for basically saying, and again, this is not a knock on Coach Beelan. He's a fantastic basketball coach. I would like to understand, without knowing what the roster is going to look like next year, I would like to understand who it is he's going to be teaching these X's and O's to. And are they going to respect a 65-year-old man who's never been part of the NBA?
See,
Exactly.
just
Go ahead.
my take on it is that when people question the college to NBA transition, it's typically how they relate to vets, not how they relate to the young guys, because the young guys have been out of Michigan for a year. So if they can handle playing for Coach Krzyzewski and him at Michigan and Calipari, they're 1 year older. If they can handle it the year they were in college, you would think they could handle it their rookie year then.
So you're basically saying that we're by them signing this college coach, that we're resigned to the fact that this team's going to be incredibly young again next year, and we're looking at
I think that's
less than 30
wins. Well, I think that's what they wanted to do anyway, and I think that's part of why they fired Ty Lue, because they wanted Ty to play the young guys, and Ty was like, "No, I want to keep my job, so I'm going to play the guys that help us win now." And
he didn't have anybody to help him win now.
I know, but
He's still unemployed, isn't he?
But that was part of why they fired him, was because he didn't want to play the young guys.
And just, I'm not a fan of Ty Lue, but I wouldn't have hired Kurt Rambis either. But that's just me. I mean, when you sit down and again, I don't know anything about Janie Buss. I know she's not her dad. And I know since she's taken over that franchise, it hasn't been anywhere near what the Los Angeles Lakers that I grew up watching look like. So the fact that she's making ultimatums in a situation where she's in the draft lottery, the Lakers are in the draft lottery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to happen.
Right.
But again, it wasn't about basketball.
No. But I think you're right. Again, I think that there's a sneaking suspicion out there that they're going to stay young. And to me, when you stay young in the NBA, unless you wind up with Zion and somehow – because they have a chance, I think, with all of their picks and things, they got a chance to get 4 number ones this year. If they can somehow land 4 really good basketball players and get rid of 4, like I say, dead carcasses that they've been dragging around for 48 minutes, then maybe they got something. But if they're just going to get 1 guy or 2 guys, they're going to be bad again.
Right.
And the fans aren't coming back unless – I mean, that's what LeBron did. He spoiled everybody to the point where he showed up and, what do you mean? We're playing in the June.
Right. Every year for the last 4 years. It's been weird.
And that's the interesting question. I had a problem with the way he left the first time. I had absolutely no problem with what he did this time at all.
Definitely.
And if he wanted to come back here
Why
while he
not?
still has some gas in the tank, I'd take him in a heartbeat.
No, definitely.
And as much as I've bashed Kyrie, I'd take him back too.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I'll take. If LeBron was to come back this year, I would.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you take Kyrie back without LeBron?
No.
Because then that's just going to get you what we had before LeBron
I mean,
came.
It depends on who's around him, but at the same time, no, I would stick with.
Because Kyrie don't make anybody better. So it's hard for,
he's James Harden in that
And
situation.
a repeat of Boston.
Right,
He's gonna be the leader.
Right.
He'll be the leader.
And I said this on the show when he was traded to Boston until he snapped his ankle. Gordon Hayward was probably the better. That was the better sign.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, they didn't really jettison anything other than that number 1 pick.
No,
Right.
I mean, they got rid of Isaiah, which they didn't want any part of anyway, and you saw why pretty quickly here. And
Terry coming off. Terry, I feel like can start. Like you see how they played last year with Terry. Obviously, they played LeBron, but Terry put up 15, 16 a game last year. I feel like he could have been what that team needed, but Kyrie is just so ball dominant. Then you bring in Gordon Hayward, who is ball dominant. Then you got to try to give Tatum his touches, Brown his touches, Al Horford his touches.
A lot of people.
So I feel like with Kyrie and them just coming back, then
and that's part of the. I hate to say it, but that's part of the ISO game that they've created here in the NBA.
right.
It's very top heavy with guys that need the basketball in their hand.
It's
Right.
true. Kyrie, I think, really also doesn't work well with what Boston wants to do. I think that was from a scheme perspective, that was a horrible fit for him.
Well, he told you that because he bashed the coach about halfway through the year.
But it's not Brad Stevens' fault. I mean, the way things work, Al Horford led them in assists last year because it's a movement, spacing, find the right shot type of thing. And Kyrie's game just doesn't play that way.
He's dribble,
and
shoot.
And, you can win with, ISO ball, because even when we won the championship, it was ISO LeBron or ISO Kyrie 90% of the time. But it doesn't work with what Brad Stevens is trying to do in Boston.
And then even ISO ball, I feel like we won those times where when you get to the finals, I feel like we won that time because that was really God looking over the city for us, man. Because even for the most part, like ISO ball.
You're right, because I was at the parade with all of those people, and there wasn't one incident the entire time. So that. I mean, there was people when people are shaking hands with people they don't even know. You know that
was the craziest. Me and Scoop, we actually worked the parade.
Yeah, we worked with Nike on that parade. So we were at the parade at like
The
5 in the
day.
morning.
I was at 9th and Boulevard
Already.
and I saw Machine Gun Kelly almost decapitate himself on the street sign. He was dancing on top of one of them, and he turned his back and didn't realize the sign was there, and it clipped him right in the back of the neck, almost knocked him off.
Wow. Yeah, that was the longest day that we probably had on the working side.
It was so hot that day, and it took them forever to get there. I was like, I wanted to sleep by the time
the problem is right around Jacobs Field. I always call it Jacobs Field. I know they call it Progressive, but Jacobs Field, the crowd was so thick that the cars couldn't move.
Right.
Yeah,
So Kyrie and JR, who were in the first two cars, they were getting out of the car, and so everybody behind them, was. I think by the time LeBron got to us, it was like 3.5 hours late.
The snow fence really wasn't a good idea, was it?
There was nothing outside the snipers that were perched on the buildings. There was absolutely no security at that place, and it turned out you didn't need it.
Right.
There was no
Cleveland. So when we celebrate, we celebrate.
And the funny thing about it is I have friends, lifelong friends, that flew in from wherever it is in the country they were just to be there for that. It was pretty cool.
Oh, that was a crazy.
Now, if the Indians would have pulled it off a couple of months later, it would have been just as big and probably.
If the Browns pull it off.
Oh, the Browns pull it off. You might as well just shut the city down.
Shut everything
down. Shut everything down.
Well, because hey, it is a Browns town.
It is a Browns town after all.
Yeah. So, do we want to talk about the Indians at all? They scored a bunch of runs today.
Yeah, Alex was saying. What'd you tell me, Alex?
I could have really gone for some of those in almost any of the last 7 games.
They were
second lowest scoring team through 40 games in the last 40 years.
It's funny.
Only outdone by the 1985 Cleveland Indians, who scored 130 runs. They've scored 131. They've scored 140.
I'm almost positive that I know somebody that said this was going to happen.
Thank you. Oh, you mean you?
Yeah. I said it in February. I knew it was coming. Now, why anybody is surprised by it, I have no idea.
Well, let me ask you this.
Lopped off 200 RBIs off your roster.
Let me ask
and
you
filled
this.
it with nobody.
And this goes back to you guys talking about, the Cavs' last 4 years in the finals. It seems really strange that they're not in the playoffs this year. Do you think that maybe that's brought extra attention and extra scrutiny to the lack of what the Indians have done so far?
Yeah,
definitely.
Because they didn't have to worry about anything till the end of June for 4 years, basically.
Right. And then with us,
see us at 60 games, we're good. Yeah.
Right.
But now every night everybody's watching them because there's no playoff basketball to watch.
Exactly. So they're gonna get the backlash of being the bad team as of right now.
Yeah, they need to get
LeBron goes for 41, and by the way, the Indians lost again.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Indians, I'm not gonna lie, they kind of lost me as a fan last year. Well, was that 2 years ago?
Last year we was good,
but we lost in the playoffs in the first round.
2 years in a row.
That's what I'm saying, man. I'm tired of them having good seasons, and then I really couldn't believe we blew that lead.
You have a new friend.
This guy can come on the show anytime he wants.
No, really, though. It's frustrating.
Well, and again, Terry says this all the time, and he's absolutely right. The worst thing that happened to them is they went to Game 7 with it was basically like the Cavs did the first year, with basically a
Depleted roster
Right.
almost.
They got there in an ambulance, basically,
Yes.
and when they didn't do anything,
We're a rain delay away from
right,
winning the title.
right.
Right.
And when they didn't sign anybody,
yeah, they just did.
that's
Right.
when it. I mean, if you can't get any closer to winning a World Series than they were,
Right.
and then you
Literally.
basically told your fans, we don't care.
We don't.
Right.
So
Definitely.
I contend they told their fans, no, we're healthy. It's all good.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, well,
You interpreted that as they didn't care.
Definitely not it.
tomato, right?
Correct. Right.
But I think I've never, I saw today that the guy that doesn't want to be in Cleveland was at practice today, OBJ.
OBJ?
So all the national media can,
Mhm.
pardon my
That's
French,
right.
suck
Who
it.
goes to voluntary? The
Right.
last two defensive players of the year didn't go to voluntary workouts. Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald did not show up to voluntary workouts. It's not. I feel like that's just.
Oh,
I-
they
I-
love
that-
being here.
And again, understand this professional athlete's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But if my boss said to me, you can either come to work
Right.
or you don't have to, but we're still going to pay you anyway,
Why would
I'll
I
see you
show
when
up?
it's time for me to be at work.
Exactly.
And again, it
Exactly.
isn't like he's, lounging on a lounge chair somewhere in
Right.
Tahiti. He's
Yeah.
practicing every day.
Working out with Jarvis and
And
Baker.
as much as the media would like to make it appear as if, he didn't really want to come here, he's never said that from the
No.
moment he got
He
from the
did.
moment he got traded. Now he might have been blindsided a little bit,
Right.
but his first tweet had him in the entire Browns. He did that. Nobody photoshopped that for him.
That's true.
Oh, on Building the Browns, I watched that as the CBS show,
Yeah.
Building the Browns. Jarvis, I asked him if he wanted to come, he'll make it happen. Him and John Dorsey
Yeah.
will try to make it happen. So just by going off of that, I feel like he wanted to come here. So
Yeah, I feel like he wanted to come here too. I think he might have just been sad about because his whole pro career has been in New York, so I think he just had to mentally go through.
I think he had to
actually
get
being
over
traded.
the fact that he's not going to be underthrown anymore.
exactly, why would you?
Thank
I'm
God.
going from
Listen.
Eli Manning to Baker
Eli.
Mayfield.
But here's the funny thing. I guess at practice today, my son was telling me because I don't know how he got the feed, but he said that Baker threw one behind
Yep, behind
and
him.
he
He snagged.
with one hand. He said, and the quote was, "Already making Baker look like an all-star."
I'm honestly super excited about this football season. I can't wait to see how everything
Danny's
plans
done.
out.
Good.
Yeah, the biggest thing is these guys are pros. This is
One of our co-hosts who's not here, he's out of the work detail, is very anti-NFL, very anti-Brown.
Oh,
so your comments are killing him, but it's all good.
this isn't the 19
Again, Pat said you can come back anytime. We're all good.
this isn't the 1960s where guys go and sell cement in the offseason.
Right.
These dudes are training year round and they're not
Right.
just working out like they're doing routes and working on footwork and watching film year round. So because they're not at voluntary mini camps doesn't mean that he's sitting on his
You think
couch.
DK Metcalf isn't practicing?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
By the way, one of the greatest quotes they said he's a human Batman suit.
and this is also this is what these are the rights they got in their collective bargaining agreement
Right.
because the owners wanted to take more money
Right.
and so therefore to get the more money that the owners wanted, they said we're going to make your off season longer and we're going to make less stuff mandatory.
As long as he's there week one, when they
Don't
take the
matter.
first snap, it doesn't matter if he ever should. To me, in the NFL, especially preseason football, I mean that they're just asking for trouble. And anymore, a lot of these guys don't even play. They
Right.
play a snap or two or
Right.
whatever. If they can get through training camp and the preseason healthy,
Without touching the field,
Right.
they would want to do
right?
it.
But I'm just saying, I think if the Cleveland Browns are able to do that, this is going to be one of those years that people are going to go, wow, this is going to be like the greatest show on turf kind of year.
Definitely.
It's gonna
Because
be so
You
exciting.
just raised the bar, Pat.
I'm telling you, again,
When you went from 11-5 to the greatest show on turf,
okay, who do you cover?
Who do you cover? Njoku in the slot. Njoku at the tight end. Callaway.
And again,
at the
everybody-
is
slot.
that still Nigerian for short of the first?
It used to be, not anymore.
Okay, not anymore. Okay.
It's funny what somebody that can actually get you the ball in space can do for you.
Right.
But again,
But when you can throw the ball past the first down,
right at the end of the day, and Njoku is a perfect example of this. They stick him in the slot. You're going to put a linebacker on him? Good luck.
Mismatch.
101 with Callaway every time. You got Odell and he one of our fastest
if
players.
Callaway can keep
If he
himself
catches
out of trouble.
Right.
You know,
If
he's
If he
doing-
can keep himself out of trouble.
And
and
he
if he
came
can catch the
running-
ball.
He's had a quiet off season, which has been
Right.
good.
Keep
And
that
he
out of the way.
he was at practice today. So I mean, they were at full strength today.
Right.
Did
But
we
yeah,
resign
right.
Perriman?
Huh?
Did we resign Perriman?
No, he did, and then he
Oh
was
yeah,
in-
then he
when
left
they,
when
they made the
Odell
trade.
came. Okay,
So he's in Tampa.
But no,
Okay.
you're right. With those 4 guys, if they can protect Baker,
then you got
And again,
the
there's
possibilities are endless.
Right.
Reggie just brought it up. Perriman's a prime example of what a good quarterback.
can do it.
He played 4 years with Flacco, and all he did was drop the football.
Man,
Now all of a sudden, he's going up with one hand over 2 defenders and bringing the ball down. It isn't like he just magically learned how to catch when he put the helmet on.
exactly. Baker did it with Higgins as
Right.
well. So I feel like it's Baker. He just putting players in that position where, they just got to catch the ball.
And again, Landry, in my opinion, Odell's great. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Landry's the guy
Yeah.
because he does the stuff that a lot of these guys don't do.
Block.
Right. But
Energy.
but more importantly, he'll go across the middle of the field and catch the
Exactly,
football
without
and
no
with
hesitation.
no fear, which is something that will open up.
Those outside windows, outside seams.
But I'd like to see what teams are going to who you're going to double cover because you
You
can't.
can't.
Let's go.
And then we got
Yeah,
Chubb.
I forgot all about Alvin Kamara coming back. Our backfield is.
Kareem Hunt.
Kareem
Oh
Hunt.
yeah, I'm tripping.
I'll tell you what.
Hey,
I'm like, where did you?
Booker
I'll tell you what,
Super
that's
Bowl.
a fantastic pickup. I didn't even know about.
Booker Super
Damn,
Bowl.
we got
tickets
Alvin
right
Kamara?
now.
Damn.
No wonder why Duke Johnson wants out of here.
Booker Super Bowl tickets right now.
Duke in a
No,
pick, and we
really.
got Alvin Kamara? Damn, Joe, look what you did.
Right, man, what you
That's
talking
the kind of deals they make at Overtime
right.
Sports.
Hey,
Exactly. Progressive thinking that they bring to the table at Overtime Sports.
Well, it's been a fantastic discussion. We appreciate you guys sticking around with us, and
No problem.
thank you for coming
having us.
Who had the word of the day today?
I think Alex did.
I did.
Fair enough. Should we thank our sponsors?
We should thank our sponsors.
As always. So we'd love to thank the generous support of our sponsors, Pepco Victory Park, Joe and Jack Borky, Dave Nager, attorney at law in the law offices of Nager, Romaine, and Schneiberg, Dave Nager, Dugout Sports and Baseball Club, Jeff Winrod and Brian Pellegrini, Clearview Window and Gutter Cleaning, Terry Hamilton, The Menor Salt Cave, Amy Wojciechowski, Seasonal Sporting Goods, Chris Kalick, and, of course, Twisted Cow, Beef Jerky, Dave Gottschall. We want to thank those folks because without their support, we couldn't do what we do and bring you guys shows like this. We want to thank Reggie and Joe. Thank you guys for taking some time tonight
Thank you.
and telling us your story.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
We appreciate it. I thought it was, Pat and I talked about this a little bit. I thought it was kind of funny when you were there when we interviewed JL.
Right.
And we asked if you want to be on, and Justin's like, "Come on!" He pulled the chair over for you, and everything. Like, look, man, let him shine tonight.
Definitely his
We'll
day.
have our opportunity, so we're glad we were able to get you guys on. And then, again, you guys tell your story. We wish you guys, nothing but continued success. Don't
Thank
forget about us.
No,
When you
definitely
guys,
won't.
when
It's
you,
our-
when
this
you
our
guys
first
continue to ascend, don't
podcast.
forget about us.
We definitely won't. This is our first podcast.
And if you have any clients that want to talk on
come on
Tuesday
the
night,
show.
anytime.
Yeah.
Even it doesn't even have to be Tuesday. Just let us know and we'll set it up.
No, definitely. We will be having a lot of guys in our camp weekend. So if we can possibly set some things up and get them on the show to get them some
Yeah, we
publicity.
could maybe see some sort of a
We
Saturday
broadcast it from
afternoon
Benedictine every
event.
once in a while.
Okay.
They like us over there.
Okay,
We
so
know a few
definitely-
people there, so
Definitely.
that would be outstanding. But again, appreciate it. And next week we've got Josh Petroselli from starting tailback from Mount Union going to be on.
Oh, good.
And in 2 weeks, it will be the 1982 Euclid Baseball State Champions.
Okay.
So we're going a little different direction here at
like
this part of the year, going a little bit more the interview route, trying to bring some guests on and change it up a little bit.
Because nobody wants to listen to us for an hour.
Nobody wants to listen to you bash the Indians' offense for an hour.
Hey,
Let's be honest.
we right here.
You had some support tonight.
It's funny. I said it normally when I say something, somebody sitting in their chair usually says something bad back at me. It was awesome.
Takes off the headphones and tunes out. So it's all good. And again, before you know it, I mean, it's going to be football preview show time again. Those will get started up in June. We're really looking forward to it. We've got an expanded roster, hopefully coming your way from last year, expanding upon the 9 schools that we covered last year. And hopefully there's going to be a June and July full of football preview shows.
So that's going to do it for tonight's Talkback Fans. I'm Pat Lynan.
Terry Howe.
Alex Howe.
And we will see you next Tuesday with Josh Precious Ellie from Mount Union. See ya.